Does your email marketing suck? Do you wish it converted better and integrated better with your store? Well, there is a solution. We've partnered with Seguno, who are an email platform that is built into Shopify, which means you don't have to leave Shopify to go and manage your email campaigns. So you can run your marketing at the same place you run your shop. To learn more, you can claim your free customer analysis and strategy session and visit seguno.com/winning with Shopify. That's seguno.com/winning with Shopify. Seguno is made for merchants, not marketers. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Winning with Shopify podcast. That's the fastest I've ever said that. As you probably tell, I've had far too much coffee and I've just returned from a week of laying on a beach, drinking and eating and listening to other podcasts and other webinars and shows from other people. I caught up with the amazing Adam, who was from Fur Doodie, and I've got a whole load of notes on this piece of paper about the conversation I've just had with Adam. We spoke a lot about dog poo. We spoke about school counselling. We spoke about influencer outreach and what to say to an influencer to get them to work with you and how to work with them. We spoke about affiliate codes, haggling, meta ads, video hooks to get people to engage with your product through a video, lifetime value, and a whole range of other things. Today's episode is not to be missed. Adam is absolutely lovely, and the journey they're on is still both new, but they're learning some very, very interesting lessons about their product, which is a groundbreaking product. I've never heard of a product quite like it. It's similar to others, but it has a real USP. If you haven't already, check out the Growth Hub. Go to www.podcast.com, sign up to the Growth Hub, come chat to me, chat to tens. We're heading towards 100 brands on there, and we are slowly letting more brands in. So you want to join the waiting list, go to www.podcast.com, click on the Growth Hub, and sign up to the waiting list. Now we'll get you in the next few weeks. That is it from me. Over to today's amazing episode. So Adam, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. And as we do with all of our guests, before we start off talking about influencers and micro-influencers, which is today's topic, tell us a little bit, Adam, especially about your background. I'm fascinated by your background as much as where you're working today and what you guys do as a business.
Yeah, sure. So my background is actually in education. I'm a school counselor at a high school. So that's mostly what my background is. Psychology is my degree. But over the last couple of years, I've been learning about business and helping get the Fur Doodie, which is what I'm kind of here to talk about, off the ground and running. So learning a lot as I go.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. And as someone that's probably on the other end of the scale to you, I've worked in advertising for 16 years and I'm still learning. And I'm sure you're aware of the journey ahead of you will never end. Well, not till you retire and that sort of thing. But yeah, tell us a bit about the business then. What do you guys actually sell? Like what's actually on the Shopify store itself?
Yeah, so what we have is a dog product. It's a dog harness. I have one here I can show you as well. Throw it up on the screen. So it's a dog harness, kind of just acts as a basic dog harness. It's got a leash attachment up here, a D-hook there. It's got a handle on it, lots of clips and adjustment straps. It slides over the head, so nice and easy on and off. But the big difference for it is it's got a bag dispenser in it with pockets as well, so you can store some items. And this side of it is sort of what the niche of the product is, and that's a pocket for the dog to carry the used waste bag. So you can slide. I've got a fake one here. Once you pick it up, you just slide it right in there. It stays nice and secure. It's not going anywhere. And then the dog helps free up your hands.
Nice. And carries their own poop, which is,
Exactly.
as someone who does walk a dog from time to time, it's certainly something the first thing I think about when you pick up a dog poop is you're like, well, where do I put it now? Like, I don't want to leave it here. Obviously, it's in a bag and I don't really want to carry it. So what do I do?
Yep.
So certainly solving an interesting problem. You must get some interesting kind of reviews and engagement on social media with a product like this.
Yeah, definitely. The reviews, whenever we talk to people seem to love it. They like the idea. They think it's a great product. They wish they had come up with it. The people that own them have given great feedback on it as well. So people like it. We've gotten on social media, we have some people that are kind of hesitant to the idea because they feel like the dog isn't going to like carrying the poop. It's going to get smushed in there, stuff like that. But we've have it designed in a way that it's not going to be an issue. Dogs that we've encountered haven't had any kind of issue with wearing it or having the used bag in there on their side. So yeah, it's all been fairly positive for the most part. Just that little bit of social media where people aren't really sure about the product or haven't physically seen it in person yet.
Yeah, yeah. And I think with any new product as well, there's always going to be a level of education, isn't there? There's always going to be a bit of a, this is why it's not like any other dog harness, which is the very standard buying decision for any customer is, why am I going to buy this product over another product? But interestingly, and there's a lot of you guys listening at home as well, will or wherever you are today, will know from the title list, we're going to be talking about micro influencers. How is that feeding into your strategy then of getting that message out there and building reassurance it's a good product and people should buy it?
Yeah, so I mentioned that we've used some social media for advertising. As we've been going along, I started thinking about utilizing influencers. I have a friend that's an influencer, so I've been trying to work with her as well. But getting that out there to people that have their social media accounts that are set up in a way that they either use their dogs often, or maybe their social media account is of their dog specifically. So I've been reaching out to those influencers, trying to set things up where I can get them the product, they can use it, showcase it, and get it out to their followers who trust their reviews, their opinions on things, and hopefully convert that into sales for us as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk a bit more in detail as we go through everybody. Like we're talking about the headlines right now, but we are going to talk in detail about actually how you track ROI and what Adam and the guys at their business are actually doing to do that. But I guess the first question really, and we've spoken to Brett from Affluencer, who obviously has brought you guys into the show as well. One of the biggest things I spoke to Brett about, which sounded amazing, and I really want to hear it from your side as a brand as well, and not just their platform, but in general. The question really is, how do you select the right influencer to work with in the first place? Like, and I'm not talking about how you find them. Imagine you've already got that list. So you've gone on social media yourself and grabbed some different influencer tags and some data, or whichever way you look at it, or you've used Affluencer or another platform. How do you then actually decide which ones we should reach out to and start working with? Because I imagine, like any business, you must have had some good failures as much as good successes in this.
hmm Yeah, so we've tried reaching out individually to a lot of them, just through their accounts, sending messages. Affluencer's been great as a way to connect us through the platform. But what I'll do typically is if somebody's reaches out to us interested, I'll check out their social media, see what it's looking like, see what kind of followers they have, the engagement that their followers have on them or with them. Um, so that's really the big things I look for is the amount of followers, which we're not too worried about huge numbers of followers. That would be great, but we're also open to those smaller influencers, the micro influencers that might only have 1,000, 2,000 followers as well, just to help build them as well as helping build our brand. So I'll look at that. The engagement is important. So some of these that I've come across have tens of thousands of followers, but don't have a ton of engagement on their posts. And I think that's important to take into consideration as well. And that makes me question what's going on there, wonder if they're the right fit for us. So I look for things like that before really engaging in the conversations about providing the product to them and working together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's some really important points you've pulled up, actually. And again, some things we've spoken about with Brett and some things that I've not even considered with micro influencers before, having been in this space for so long. One of the ones that I love, and Brett does talk about this a lot, is saying that from the influencer side, this isn't just a you do a job, move on, do a job, move on. Actually, building together, I think, is a really important point. But I guess to drill into that a little bit more, like what does that actually look like? Like how much do you work or how do you work with an influencer to help them build their platform with you as opposed to just making it a kind of a transactional thing?
hmm so the biggest thing we've been doing when working with them is helping tag their social media along with our product, especially if we have pictures from them of their dog using the product or them using the product with their dog. So that's probably the biggest way that we help them to build as well because our followers will see them. We've already gotten some engagement on our posts that say, "Oh, I want to follow this person now," or "Follow this dog. They're so cute," things like that. So that's probably the biggest way that we help build the influencers as well as build our brand.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I guess one of the things you kind of touched on this when you said about actually reaching out direct. One of the challenges with that is thousands of people are doing it. So how do you cut through? And I guess to ask you the question as much as say this is a really good idea, and ideas are only as good as the execution. But how much do you actually say to them through Affluencer or any other platforms you've tried? How much do you actually say to them like we want to build with you and make that a real point as opposed to just let's just try you, sense you out, and then invest a few ads back on or tagging them and starting to push your audience towards their side as well.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, there's so many messages that they're likely getting. It is hard to break through. I've found that oftentimes I've sent hundreds of messages, I don't get any response. And so I've been trying different things, and adding things like that in there, I think is helpful, just so they know that we're invested in working with them versus please just do this for us, and not helping them in any way, other than some compensation for it. So yes, I do try to add that kind of thing in there as well. Just finding ways to maybe shorten the message up a little bit since they are getting a lot. I don't want to make it too lengthy. I've run into that issue where I'm trying to explain everything about the product and then it turns into a big essay about the product itself. And I'm sure they don't want to read that entire thing. So, shortening up those messages, trying to make it a little bit more personal, let them know that we're going to be working with them, and not just having them work for us as well. So, just trying to find our way to break through. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I review client email campaigns, sometimes when some of our clients say, "Can you have a look at our email because we feel like we're missing a trick or something?" One of the reactions I often have, and my team will vouch for this, I'll sit at my desk and say, "What on earth are you trying to say?" When they put an essay in, and I completely
Yeah.
support that. I do a lot of training with my team and training myself as well to go, okay, we've written quite a lot here. How do we drill that down to like the three? Like I learned on a marriage course years ago. My wife and I went on to say, what's the most important thing you're trying to say? Which I disagreed with the marriage counselor. I thought it was a terrible way of diffusing an argument. But I do think that I think that the point really is, what is the most important thing you're trying to say, and how do you summarize that as short as possible? Because as you say, people are, if you can, I guess, if you can work out, certainly from the micro influencer perspective, what is the thing that they really want here? What do I need to write in a message to make it very clear this is a win-win? This is a good relationship for you to enter into. It's not going to cost you too much, it's not going to cost me too much, but actually we could both win really well here. And I imagine you must have split tested different messaging, different ways of approaching it, or I mean, do you even customize the message per influencer? Do you find that has the best approach, or do you find actually it is just a numbers game? You just got to get as many messages out as you can and see who sticks, or a bit of both?
Yeah. A lot of this is new to me, so I've definitely been learning along the way. But definitely tried different methods. I tried the approach of just copy and pasting the same message. That didn't really go anywhere. It didn't feel personal. Um, I do try to look at their profile and pull in some things of what I see, comment on their dog, use the name if I have been able to find it anywhere. So try to make it a little more personal. The length of the message, like I mentioned as well, trying to keep that not too lengthy and narrow it down to the points and include as much information as I can in that first message. So there's not a ton of back and forth. If I could have just mentioned something right away, such as like what they're getting out of it, from my end. Um, and so, yeah, so we've tried a few different things, and even with emails, like you mentioned as well. I do a lot of the emailing. I try to include everything that I can in there. Try not to keep it too lengthy, but keep all the main points that I can. That way, people aren't having to read through long messages in their busy days as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the other thing to think about in sales, I always run through my mind when we're working with new clients, or doing a pitch or something, is I always think like, what information do I actually want to withhold? So they're like, this all sounds great, but what about? Because I think the dialogue is so important, isn't it? You must find with the influencers, and certainly with emailing customers as well, that once you start any level of dialogue, it's like, okay, now the relationship started to build. It immediately becomes two-way. I know the chance of getting a second email back is infinitely higher than trying to get response to the first one in the first place. But I think, as you say, it is a numbers game, and as you say, you're learning at the moment. You're never going to reach a point. I don't think, never going to reach a point where you've completely nailed it. Because the day something works, all your competitors will work that out, and other people that want to work with these influencers, you're going to need to change your game again, and do something different. But out of interest, like, what do you actually offer them? Like, what is the thing that you're putting in front of a micro influencer to say, come work with us, this is what we're going to do for you?
Yeah. So we are a pretty new product. We launched in February. So we are building. We're definitely building right now. So what we're trying to do with the influencers is we give them the product itself. So they're getting that out of it, in hopes that they'll use it with their dog, provide some content. But then we also provide them a code that they can provide to their followers. If anybody buys the product using the code, then we give a compensation back or a commission back to the influencer, from that sale. So anytime there's a sale using that code, we'll provide them with a payment from that as well. So they're getting a little bit of some passive income once they have the content created and out there for their followers.
Yeah, which I think is such a good thing to do as well, especially if I used to, with my kind of very bland knowledge of the influencer world years ago when it was still quite new, I used to think, why would you just send a free product out? And I used to run my own YouTube channel and Instagram and stuff years ago. And if you try and find it, everybody, you will not find it. It's I've locked it down pretty tightly. But when I did that, I remember brands saying like, "Hey, here's a free product," and I was like, "Okay, it's a Bluetooth speaker. Like, when am I going to use it? Where am I going to take it?" Like, and sometimes I would accept it and it would arrive. And I remember getting one of the world's most famous protein shakes where like, we just want you to take our free protein shake and just mention it every now and then. And that's it. And I remember it was kind of nice, but I hated protein shakes at the time. Like they tasted disgusting. And but I remember thinking like, what is in this for the brand? And I think, as you've just said, you'd be way more incentivized as an influencer to actually mention something if there's that affiliate kickback scheme in place. Do you find, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want, this is going to kind of some of the financial nuts and bolts, but do you find influencers tend to try and haggle that amount? Do you just tend to find negotiation, or do you find actually they're like, no, no, this sounds like a really cool product. Yeah, send it over. I'd love to see it. And if I use it, yeah, I'll use that code as well. Do you find it you tend to have found the right sort of sweet spot with it, or do you find there's a bit of back and forth in how you're going to work with them and what they're going to get? And do some of them come back and say, oh, it's $5,000 you need to pay?
Yeah, yeah. There hasn't been a lot of back and forth. With me being new to the influencer world and figuring out things with that, there was just some things I didn't know, and so I've been learning that as far as like how some people have their set prices on things, and that's fine. But there's also a lot of people that when I send this over and mention the idea of a code, they create the content, provide it out there, and then we pay them. They're totally fine with that as well and open to that idea. So it depends. There hasn't been a lot of back and forth and haggling on the prices and stuff. A couple people here and there just have like their set ways and their set amounts, and that's fine. And then we just kind of talk and figure out if it'll work or not, and go from there.
Yeah. Nice, nice. And I guess last couple of questions, and I want to talk about some of the big picture, like where this fits in. But when you're working with an influencer, have you found with many of them that actually, and the reason I'm asking this question, I'll give you a bit of context. A lot of the people listening will reach out to us and say, like, I'm nervous to send a load of free products out because I feel like I'll get nothing back and they won't actually do anything with it. Have you found that that's happened quite a bit? Or actually, have you guys, and I know Brett shared some sort of like, do recorded delivery when you send it. So you can message and say, I know it's arrived, obviously in a more friendly tone than I know it's arrived. But once you know that the product's arrived, have you found that actually you need to give people a bit of a nudge to actually get them to do something, or at least get some honest feedback? So we'll just send it back to us, then that's fine. Or,
Yeah.
you say you're still learning. There must have been some teething in that process as well.
Yeah, we haven't done a lot of work with influencers yet. There's only three that we're working with at this point. Um, and so we've sent the product out to them. We've had some communication with them as well. One of them's already started posting things. This is only within the last few weeks, so it hasn't been too long. But one of them started to post a lot of content and provide us with things, which is great. The other one has had some things in the way; they haven't gotten to it yet. And then the third one, the communication sort of died off, and so we're working on figuring that out and reaching out and try to figure out what works best. So we haven't connected with a ton of influencers yet. We wanted to try this out with the few that we connected to, see where things go from there, see what sales are like before we start sending out products all over the place and end up with a lot out there that aren't doing anything with it. So one of our biggest things right now is creating awareness of the product itself. It is a newer product, product that people haven't really seen before. Other than it just being a dog harness, it's got these extra features. So there's, like I mentioned before, a little hesitation to it. And so I think the more that they're out there, we're not as worried about giving out these free products because we're creating awareness. People are seeing it out there, and it's hopefully creating conversations with those people that are using them with their dogs as well, to build that awareness and build the brand up itself.
Yeah, and I do think and I have this conversation with clients a lot about like, what is your USP? What's the sticky part of the brand people remember? And I guess as soon as someone's seen an advert from you or seen a plug or seen someone go, you don't have to carry the poop bag anymore. The dog can carry it for you, and they don't know nor care, and it's a great system. Once you've done that, people are walking their dog at least once or twice, sometimes more a day. Every time you pick up a poop bag now, you want that seed of doubt in their head going, why am I carrying this? Like why does he carry his own stuff? And so actually, I think there's a really good kind of sticky point there of if they see or hear about the product two or three times, and you can get that level of frequency on some of your potential customers, surely at some point they're going to come to you and just send you a message going, do dogs actually wear this? Or go on YouTube and search them, like, who's using this thing? And then go, oh, people are actually using it, I might give it a try. And then they see you've got a 10% offer, or so, you know, something that kind of hits them from the influencer or directly through the site to actually say, like, okay, here's a reason to use it. And you guys must have thought about all that when you developed the product as well, and kind of thought, like, what is something, or is it something people are going to think about a lot to go, do you know what, I should try this thing, I should just see if the dog doesn't mind, happy days, you know, I've solved
Yeah.
a problem here.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the concerns I brought up as we started to develop it, is how is the dog going to react to having this on its side? If they'll react to the smell, having a little bit of extra weight over there, things like that we tried to think through. And the more we tested it out, we realized it wasn't a concern at all. But yeah, there were a lot of things that we went through, several prototypes. I think this was the fourth or fifth prototype that we finally landed on, and it became the product. And of course, we've already got ideas for improvements for the next round of them. But for now, this is the first of it, and we're happy with the design. Everybody seems to be thrilled with the product that's used it so far and seen it in person.
Amazing. And obviously, there's no strength in any business without something like that. So it's good that you've got it. Do you want to up your influencer marketing game? Do you want to meet more influencers, have a better working relationship with influencers? You might even be struggling to talk to them in the first place, or even get them to talk about your product and post to their audiences. Well, at Winning with Shopify, we have teamed up with Affluencer, which is an app you can install on Shopify, and it comes with a 30-day trial. And even in those first 30 days, you can meet a load of influencers and start promoting your product. So there's no excuse. Go and install the app, start the 30-day trial, and give it a go yourself and see how you get on. But yeah, I don't know how many of my listeners have heard this, but I made the mistake of going on Alibaba one night and spending $5,000 on my credit cards on sunglasses, and then spent the next 3 years going, what have I done? And eventually I got my money back. I sold all the excess stock, but realized, yeah, I did the numbers and realized how many sunglasses I need to sell a day, factoring in all the costs to make, you know, like £20,000 a year profit. And it was a lot. And I thought I can achieve that in my agency in probably about 4 or 5 days. So yeah, it was a much easier decision to go to a couple more evening networking groups and find some new clients than sell sunglasses. But I think it's, let's say, having that kind of USP, that point to go to. And I think, you know, you must be a dog owner yourself. There must be that passion behind it to say, actually, this is a product I've always wanted. And as you say, you obviously very close to the customer reviews, customer feedback to know what you know.
Yeah. This product was developed, the two Fur Doodie is developed with me and my parents. So it's a family business. And we've had dogs throughout my life growing up as well. So that was kind of where it spurred from. Is the last dog that we had was a Shiba Inu, and she unfortunately has passed away now, but she was kind of the inspiration for the product itself, and kind of just a thought that my dad had about, well, why am I carrying this bag? The dog should carry it. And so that thought always kind of stuck with them. And eventually we decided to just kind of go with it, develop something, and this is what it's become now. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, we are passionate about dogs and caring for dogs, as well as helping people make their lives a little bit easier with having the dog help out as well.
Yeah.
I feel like it strengthens. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, it feels like it strengthens the bond a little bit more between the owner and the dog as well, because they're sharing in that responsibility, keeping the environment cleaner, and sharing the duty of carrying the duty.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. And I'll be honest, when I first saw that we were recording with you guys, I did Google, like, why is it called Doodie? Like, what? And realized it's an Americanism. It's not something we call it in the UK. So yeah, when you first did, when I first saw it and someone said, oh, you're interviewing, two for Doodie, I was like, duty? What's that? And they were like, no, not a T, a D. Duty. And I was like, oh, okay, Duty. But I guess a really big question, let's take a step back from now. We've spoken a lot about influencers. Why influencer marketing? Like, is that the only route you guys are going down with this? Are you doing some of the more traditional stuff alongside? Like, how did the influencer strategy really kick off?
Yeah. So we're doing a mix. So I've been setting up Facebook and Instagram ads for a while, Meta, and using those. That's been kind of our main source for right now as far as marketing goes, as well as taking part in events. So there's dog events that have been going on around my area. So I'll go to those, have a booth set up, and have the product available for people to try out, see, touch, feel, and use. So those have been kind of what we've been doing for the most part, but I wanted to go the influencer route. I'm a little bit more versed on the technological side of things and what's sort of trending with a younger crowd than my parents are. And so I know that influencers do play a big role in helping brands build or getting their product out there. And so I started to explore that route a little bit more, especially knowing a friend of mine who's gotten big into being an influencer herself. And so I figured that might be a good route for us to at least get the product out there, create awareness, and hopefully create some sales just in a different way to reach a new market as well. So.
Yeah, yeah. And when I had the sunglasses business, you just reminded me that yeah, my friend Louis has got millions of followers on YouTube and all the other channels. And so whenever Louis wore our sunglasses, it was literally like 30 sales just came in. I was like, Louis, could you post about them every hour, please? Like this is working so well. And the reviews were incredible because they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got the same sunglasses as Louis. And I was literally after a while, I was like, Louis, do you want shares in the sunglasses? And he was like, no, I meant to say I don't actually like them. I was just trying to help you out. And I was like, oh, fair enough. I'm okay with that. But I think again, having that springboard must be so good to have an influencer that you know and can talk to and say, right, A to Z, how does this work? Like, what do you respond to? What don't you? What other influencers do you know? How does it work in your space? But that must also go back to what you were saying about meta ads as well. You must be able to get some really, really good emotive content, some really kind of passionate content about, about people owning their dogs, spending time with their dogs, as well as it, the doodie, as you guys call it, being a kind of, daily or multiple daily occurrence, and actually going, well, this is something that helps with that. So you must be able to have a lot more fun with your marketing than someone who's selling, I don't know, air conditioning units or something a bit more, a bit more black and white.
Yeah, yeah. We've been trying to come up with some different creative and fun ideas for that as well. Obviously, getting to the point of what the product is, but trying to have fun with it and show the product itself, let people know why it's going to benefit them. But also, it's fun to create some different kind of ideas that hopefully we can bring to life in a fun way to reach people's emotions rather than just specifically hitting the facts about the product itself.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think one of the biggest things that obviously pops a lot online, I mean, hence why we're recording this on video as well, is video. It's something where you can see the product in action, you can feel the emotion. And, it's interesting that you come from a sort of kind of school counseling background. I'm trying to learn more about the cognitive workings of human brains at the moment. So I've been reading lots of books. And we were just saying before we started, I was laying on a beach all of last week at an all inclusive eating and drinking, which is fantastic. But listening to audiobooks about how brains work and actually the emotive decision making process, I find fascinating. And we're talking more and more about it on the podcast. But certainly that kind of emotive part of someone going, how's this product going to improve my life? You guys must be playing a lot with video content in terms of how you get that across. Obviously, the influencers be doing that as well. But if you combine the two, if you actually used influencer created content on your social channels as well to, blast it out in front of their audience or similar followers of this person, yeah, have you tried stuff like that as well?
Yeah, definitely. So like I mentioned, we're starting to get some user created content from the influencers themselves, but we also reach out to anyone that's using it or that's bought the product and try to get some pictures or video of them using it as well. So it's not just this nice polished video or picture every time that we're sending out there. It's user created content, so people know that it's authentic, that there's others out there that are using it and enjoy the product too. So we are kind of mixing that together with ours. I'm finding often that video seems to perform a little bit better on Meta than the pictures for our ads. And so I'm trying to find ways to create more video and work that into our marketing rather than just posting pictures as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think the thing with video, especially, is we Byron, who is the brains behind the podcast, he always talks about doom scrolling and how many of us do it, and how much we do it. Where you're just on Instagram or TikTok, just going video, 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 and it is always videos, as you say. I think the stills. I find at the moment with a lot of our clients, a still has to be so powerful to actually achieve anything. It has to either reaffirm something people have already been told, and it's just a reminder. So if it still says something like, 24 hours left on this sale, or we're down to our last 200 units of this item, like you've got to buy it now if you want it, knowing it's popular, It's those kind of things where stills do work, but there's a real very specific niche time to kind of bring that in, I think. Whereas the video is so much more emotive, and you guys also must focus on the edits of those videos to go, we've got what, 3-4 seconds to hook someone in before they swipe. They swipe and it's gone. And all our thousands of dollars and hard work and time editing and creative camera, all of that's gone as soon as they swipe. So what do you guys do to try and focus on that first little bit to get people to engage with or at least, I say engage, at least watch the rest of the video?
Yeah, that's something I've been learning along the way as well. I would start with our logo popping up, and that's 3 to 4 seconds on its own before it gets into the video. And I stopped doing that. I got rid of that because I realized that even myself, I'll swipe through to the next thing within those 5 seconds, and we're losing potential customers that way. So um, yeah, just trying to hook them as quickly as possible and get them to watch as much of it. I'm glad that we can look back at the data and see how long people are watching the videos. That's a great benefit because then I can specifically look and see where we're losing them as well, if they're not watching the entire thing. So that's just as valuable as hooking them from the beginning, in my opinion, to see what's working, what's not, and work from there with
Yeah, and I
future.
think that data is so important. The bit that annoys me no end about data is, and I love data, it tells you what's happened, but it doesn't tell you why. And that's always the frustration is like, okay, everyone's like clicked off at this point. Like we had an episode recently of the podcast that did really well on YouTube. And I looked at the stats and it was like this. And it was like we almost lost nobody in the first 10 minutes and suddenly we lost everyone. And I went 10 minutes in and when people literally they heard like me or the guest say something like, oh, and the biggest thing that you have to do, I'm going to break into 3 points. And then they stopped. And I was like, surely that's the moment that you're like, right, let me sharpen my pencil. These are the 3 things I need to know. But it's just mad. It's mad that you don't always get to see exactly why somebody's clicked off. But that's why I think, I don't know if you guys have done it as a brand yet, but quite a few brands we've had on the show have said that certainly in the earlier days and as they try to really grow and scale, they've created a focus group of customers to show them an advert in advance and say, pretend you knew nothing about us. What does this tell you about your dog, about a harness, about our product? What do you learn from this? Assume, forget everything you've ever known. Just watch this. And 10 seconds in, we're going to pause it and tell us what you think. And I think having that, I don't know if you guys have got a focus group, but having that feedback so important.
Hmm. Yeah, we haven't done that quite yet, but I love that idea, and I think that would be great for us to just get that feedback on the product itself from those that don't know anything about it yet. And like I said, it's a new product, so there's going to be a lot of people that aren't familiar with it to begin with. So that would be a great idea for us to check out and try to do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, look, I've got two more really big questions I want to ask. One,
Sure.
I only thought of while we've been recording, and it's a bit of a sidestep, but it's something that, again, flashbacks from the sunglasses days. We used to have an issue where you buy a pair of sunglasses, and now we have to wait 6-12 months before someone's going to buy another pair. What do you guys, maybe it's too early to start talking about lifetime value in the business. Maybe it's still just that single order, but what are you guys thinking, planning, or potentially even doing already on lifetime value to get more than a single transaction from customers? Like, where does that come into play in the business?
Yeah. So our hope with it is that it's a lasting product. We wanted it to be well made, that people don't have to replace often, if ever, just because we want them to trust in the creation of it, and trust that it's going to last, as we've mentioned, that it's well made. Um, but our hope with it, as far as like second purchase or more, would be maybe another dog that they have, and they're thinking, "Hey, we got another dog. Let's get another two for duty for that one." We have two different sizes as well, so it works on two different size dogs as well. Um, or even just passing it along, and maybe they're not the ones that are making the second purchase, but somebody they know buys one, and that, in a sense, feels like a second purchase from that person.
Christmas present, or yeah, there's probably quite a lot
Mhm.
you can do that, and also refer a friend as well. I've always found
Yeah.
so powerful. Almost, I don't know if you or any of our listeners do the same now. When I sign up to anything, I literally check if they've got a refer a friend program, and if they do, I post on my Facebook or Instagram, my personal, just say, does anyone want to refer me? So we both get like a $20 Amazon voucher or something. But yeah, I think the refer a friend, especially for dogs, because wherever you walk your dog in the morning, especially, you'll know all the other dog owners. So to be able to say, "Oh, he's got a new harness," like, "Oh, that harness is amazing. I don't have to carry his poop around anymore. You should get one." In fact, if I refer you, I know I'm going to get something. So yeah, that must be such a, as you say, like people buying the product for somebody else or referring someone else must be huge potential for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as you mentioned, just other people seeing the product out there, I think, can create some good conversations and let other people know about the product and hopefully convince them to purchase one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I mentioned I had 2 questions. My second question is something that I noticed on the website the other day, which is that you guys also give out a free toy
Yeah.
when you send the product. Talk me through that. Like, what was the thinking behind it? How well was it working? Did you only launch it yesterday and it's a test and you don't know yet? Or
Yeah.
tell us what's happening.
Yeah, so here in the US, it's Labor Day weekend right now. And so there's a lot of different sales going on. So our idea for this time around was to offer this free toy. It's a pull toy, it sort of works as a frisbee as well. But yeah, so it's a fun just giveaway that we can do along with a purchase. So we're doing that for a week now. So any purchases up until September 7th, we are giving this toy along with it. It is one that fits into the pouch as well on the
I saw
large.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it'll fit in there. But it's just something we wanted to try as another way to entice people to purchase the product.
Yeah, amazing. And
Mhm.
what dogs don't love, a toy to rip apart and and play rough and tumble with.
Yeah.
We've got a dog in the family, and whenever he gets slightly excited, he looks around for a toy and just grabs it and goes crazy. So
Yeah.
can definitely relate to that. And as I said about the emotive thing, but you and I are both smiling now, and you've never even met this dog. We all have that
Yeah.
same relation to it, which I think
Yeah.
is really powerful. So.
Definitely.
Amazing. Well, look, Adam, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Wish you all the best with the business, and really
Thank
appreciate
you.
the conversation today. Thanks for everything you've shared.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time.
Amazing. And for everybody listening at home, thank you so much for tuning in. 80%, I think it's between 80 and 85% of you are not subscribed who are watching this on YouTube. So please hit that subscribe button. It helps us out so much. If you haven't already, leave us a review. And if you just want to check out the show next week, we'll be posting again on Friday. So thanks for joining in today. And we hope to have you along again with our next episode. Do you ever find that in your warehouse you have dead stock? You can't sell it, no one wants to buy it, and you can't get a refund on it. Or alternatively, you're missing inventory in your warehouse that you need. You've got sales coming in and you're low on stock and you haven't ordered more stock in time. All these things hit profit, and I've been there. I've run my own Shopify store and had exactly that problem. But we've partnered it up with Inventory Planner, who have the most incredible app to help you manage that and forecast exactly what products, what SKUs, even down to what color of product you need to order in advance to make sure stock levels remain consistent throughout. They're also running a 7-day boot camp. And if you want to go and sign up to that, it's 7 emails over 7 days. And it takes the same amount of time as your morning coffee. And in 7 days, like me, you can become an inventory management pro. Both links are in the description. Enjoy.